Sports Sunday live on this Labor Day weekend, the last Sunday without pro football until February. By now, all of your fantasy football teams should have been selected as the rosters are all but set for the kickoff of the season, actually this Wednesday night when the Super Bowl champion New York Giants host Dallas. The Vikings open up with Jacksonville at noon next Sunday here on Channel 4. And let's face it, there wasn't a lot of drama involving the final cuts over the weekend. Despite this touchdown pass last Thursday to Devin Romashadu, veteran quarterback Sage Rosenfels was not kept in the final roster. Rosenfels at 34, far and away the oldest and most experienced guy to back up Christian Ponder. But the Vikings decided to keep Joe Webb as Ponder's backup and free agent McLeod Bethel Thompson as the third quarterback. Yes, there was speculation the Vikings might cut ties with Webb and keep Rosenfels, but ultimately they kept the young guys who they look at, I guess, as a much bigger part of their future. Joining us in studio again, as he does every Sunday night because he really has nowhere else to go. Last week you were wearing a three-piece suit. Now he just came from the corn dog stand, apparently, at the State Fair. And only Pete Bursich, the great analyst, the best analyst in town. Yeah. Nice to see you.
That's good to be here.
It's nice that I'm wearing a suit. If you look a lot more comfortable.
If I wore that to the Chart House in Lakeville, it'd throw me out.
You'd get thrown right out.
Throw me right out.
Well, listen, Pete, you were covering the game in Houston on Thursday. I think the Vikings fans had their minds made up, or the Vikings had their minds made up before this game, that they were going to cut ties with the Rosenfels because Webb didn't really play all that well in the first quarter. Yet they kept him over Sage. What was the thinking behind it?
Well, I mean, you can only speculate. I think the main thing to remember is that right now, the key to this franchise and the key to this club is the development of Christian Ponder. And the coaches aren't in the business of developing number twos and number threes. They're in the business of making their number one a real number one. And I thought Sage would have a lot of help with that as a mentor. Now, I don't know how Sage was in a locker room or in the meeting rooms. He could have been an issue. But
I don't think
just how they played. And just from the value, I mean, just having him around is really going to help. Would really help Ponder out. And now we're going into the season with the second youngest quarterback duo in the NFL, only behind St. Louis.
Well, I guess you're supposed to say that's the job of the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach, because the idea of having Sage being those extra set of eyes, because Ponder does help us as experience, because they look over the charts, they look over the plays, they do all that stuff that we see on camera all the time.
Right, and the coaches aren't with those guys all the time. They spend a lot of time as individual players watching film, just like one of the DBs would take some younger guy under their wing. I know Antoine Winfield has done it for years and teach them how to watch film. There's certain things that these players have to learn on their own, and I think Sage would have been a big help to Christian.
Let's talk about Joe Webb, because he has teased us with his talent. Drafted in the 6th round. We weren't sure if he was going to be better at wide. I don't think the Vikings were sure if he was going to be better as a wide receiver, a quarterback. They settled in at quarterback. We've seen some glimpses. We played quite a bit when he had to last year. He provides a change of pace at quarterback. What's his upside, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, he really does. And again, for Joe, he's just going to have to get more comfortable in the pocket. And he's won games, and he has experience in the NFL as a quarterback, which is very, very valuable. And I was looking at it as Joe Webb being the immediate person to go in if something happens to Ponder. He's such a change-up. We saw in Detroit last year when Detroit had to bring out Cliff Averill out of the pass rush just to mirror Joe Webb, and he almost came back and won that game.
Yeah, his running ability does keep defenses off balance a little bit.
Right, and then you would think that if Ponder would be out for an extended period of time, that Sage would be the heir apparent, a guy you can game plan with, a guy that can handle maybe more offense. But for Joe Webb, there's still a lot of upside there, and we know what Joe can do. You can win with Joe. It's just like I said. It's not about developing Joe Webb. It's not about Bethel Thompson. It's about making sure Christian Ponder is as good as he could possibly be.
But injuries are part of the contract, as we know in the NFL, and really good backup quarterbacks are a rare commodity these days in the NFL because of the salary cap, and that's really the way things work.
Right, and the other thing too to look at it is that if you're a vested veteran like Sage is, if he's there day one, you have to pay him the entire season. There's always a possibility of a week or two down the road putting Bethel Thompson on the practice squad, bringing Sage back in on a week-by-week basis. Who knows?
Well, they're getting Sage when he gets $500,000,
which is not a lot.
No,
as a parting gift, it's a lot.
It's a parting gift. A couple of years ago, then head coach Brad Childress ended up losing quarterback Tyler Thigpen, who just took $1 million pay cut. Speaking of money, maybe that was the same scenario with free agent quarterback McLeod Bethel Thompson. What are your impressions of him? I know he's a third quarterback and all that, but
no one's really heard of this kid before coming in. He wore number 4.
Right.
He wears number 4.
Right. He's a very, very talented young man, and he's very, very raw at the same time, and he's shown that he has some promise in the league. And you even look at Tyler Thigpen. Tyler Thigpen had his moment in the sun, which was what, 1 season, season and a half. I mean,
Jarius Wright, by the way, the rookie wide receiver.
Yeah, he and Jarius Wright had, he and Aroma Shadu both played very well on Thursday. They're the ones that needed to, and they came through. But he has a lot of the talent and everything. And the question is, did he play so well that putting him on the practice squad would expose him to another team or another franchise, and you were that afraid to lose him? I don't know.
Well, we don't know what Jerome Simpson's going to add to this team when he plays in the 4th game. Eventually, I think the Vikings are going to have to change to really more of a pass-first offense based on their personnel. That's just the way you have to keep up in this league.
Yeah, well, you look around our division, and you look at the offenses that we're going to be facing this year, assuming Chicago's is much improved. And, if your defense can't shut them down, then you got to play catch-up. And with a good running game, you don't establish the run to get the pay. A good running game, what it does is it keeps you in games, and it helps you maintain a lead if you get it. So, we'll see. And like last year, a lot of tight games. And I think the other thing that's going to be a big issue coming in is the kicking.
We'll get to that in a minute. I want to ask.
Well, there you go.
I asked Mike Morris.
That's why you make the big bucks.
Mike Morris, the former long snapper, he's a buddy of ours.
That guy.
If a player could literally make the team by his performance in the last preseason game, he said yes. So after watching Jordan Todman's performance in the Texan game, I thought he might make it, but he didn't. But at least he's on the practice squad for now.
Right.
The kid had an explosive run for a touchdown. I'm thinking I got a chance to make this team, but it wasn't enough to unseat Matt Asiata, who got the 3rd running.
No, Matt Asiata was impressive. He was impressive all through the preseason. And again, the guy shows he has one good game. The question is, where was he the last 3 weeks? He was injured.
Yeah.
And again, in the NFL, you have to stay healthy. You have to be ready to play. And if you're going to get better, you have to be in there week out. We've seen this with some of our DBs, with guys like Chris Cook. I mean, you have to be able to play week in, week out. It is. No, I
don't care who he's playing against.
And you have to give Rick Spielman the credit. And he's brought in a lot of very, very good athletes. And this is a very, very impressive run. He was sitting right next to us when the run was made, and he's thinking, he said it out loud. I'm going to rethink what I'm doing.
Well, he's at least on the practice squad. Here's the thing about the running game. The New York Giants won the Super Bowl last year despite having the lowest ranked running game in the entire NFL. Think about that, the entire NFL. So I guess unless you have an Adrian Peterson or a Maurice Jones-Drew, maybe a few others, the running game has become a bit player in the overall offensive scheme of the better teams in the league. The Giants are living proof of that.
Right. And another thing too is what Kahn did down in Jacksonville with Maurice Jones-Drew, not bending over and giving him a new contract. But I do think with the Giants last year was a bit of a exception to the rule, because I think Bradshaw and Jacobs they ran at a different level when they got to the playoffs. I don't think that they ran like that all throughout the year.
Well, it's also important if you don't have a dominant quarterback. Now, the 49ers were the exception. They had a great balance. Their passing offense wasn't that good, but quarterback Alex Smith only threw 5 interceptions last year, which is a big factor. So as we begin our broadcast days next Sunday morning, what do you anticipate our announcement about Adrian Peterson's status will be around an hour and a half before kickoff?
I think he'll dress, and I think he'll play. I mean, that's the other thing that's interesting, is you're going to have an Adrian Peterson and a Maurice Jones-Drew, both kind of in the same spot, and they might both play the same amount, just get a few handoffs here and there. But I think Adrian will play.
So that's what you think? You think they might ease him into the game, give him the ball right away, but not play him 4 quarters?
I think the smart thing to do would be to give him a handful of runs. I mean, his rookie year, when he tore the league up, he only, when he broke the record against San Diego, it was the same run like 3 or 4 times that he ran. So just give him a little bit of offense, have him in there, do a few rolls, see how he does, see how he comes back on Monday and Tuesday. If he's feeling good, then add more offense.
His adrenaline level will be off the charts. This has been his timetable. He's been thinking about this day since he tore that ACL last December 24th. Pretty aggressive timetable to come back from this health.
Right, yeah, it really is. And you look at AP, and he's freakish all the way around. But, I remember a guy named Terry Allen who came back from 2 ACLs and was still a pretty good running back when he did. And again, I have no worries that Adrian will be ready to go. It's just when you have a knee, haven't gone through one myself, if you come back too soon, it's not the knee that's going to give you problems. It's you change your gait, you pull a hamstring, muscles in the other parts of the body. So keep an eye on that.
The Vikings still have a bunch of guys who played in the NFC title game in January of 2010. Go through the list: John Sullivan, Phil Loadholt, Adrian Peterson, Percy Harvin, Chad Greenway, Jared Allen, Antoine Winfield, maybe a couple others. But overall, the Vikings are very, very young at some really critical positions, including the all-important secondary. The great football organizations, from the Patriots to the Steelers, the Giants, maybe the Packers of late, have a system in place. They plug players in and year out. They play through the injuries. They have quality depth on this team. Too much of that seemingly is unknown on this football team right now, Pete.
Yeah, there is. And you look at the defense, it's going to be interesting to see how Alan Williams handles everything in the system that he puts in. But you do have some more of your veterans on defense than you do on offense. You front four on a defensive line, Jared Allen, Brian Robinson. Those guys have been around for a while. Antoine Winfield's been around for a while. You're going to be young at safety. I think you can be and get by. They're going to have a learning curve there. On offense, I mean, you have a guy like Sullivan and Lodeholt. Behind them in key positions, you really don't have much in the way of a veteran inning.
The line, I think, right now in their division.
It's a good. The offensive line itself is a good sprinkle of young and old, but you're young everywhere.
Okay. You tease the kicker, so let's go down this road. The offense we know is going to get bogged down in the red zone and beyond at times. That's just the NFL.
Right.
I am saying a rookie kicker, Blair Walsh, is going to have a lot to say about a lot of these close games this year, Pete. Could be some major hand-wringing going on if he can't knock down a 45-yard field goal on a consistent basis under pressure. We know he has a very strong leg. We've seen that. There won't be many kickoff returns, but Longwell was so consistent, and for a team that isn't on paper going to light up the scoreboard, better not leave points on the field here.
No, you're right. And with the way the team's built, there's going to be a lot. I mean, how many games did Ryan Longwell win? I mean, we iced our own kicker. We iced Ryan Longwell, and he came out and made it. But then again, think of it this way. Longwell is still out there. If he struggles early in the season, you bring Longwell back to be your field goal kicker at a certain range, and then keep Blair Walsh as your long field goal / kickoff guy. So there's some options there. And, he's done a fine job in the preseason. We all know he's got a great leg. It's just a matter of can he come in there opening day, make that 50, 45-yard field goal when the game's 9-6 or when you really need it.
Well, it's going to be something. There's a lot of stuff to think about with the NFC North in particular. Aaron Rodgers has so many unbelievable receivers to pick from, coming off a 15-1 season. They stumbled against the Giants in the playoff game. Are they far and away your team to win the North right now and one of your Super Bowl favorites? Yeah,
in the division, you'd have to favor them. I'm still really interested to see what the Bears are going to do, only because that team is just such a wild card. Detroit, I don't know if they've had enough talent on defense. They're going to win a lot of football games. They're going to put up a lot of points. Megatron was on the cover of the new Madden game, so he's not a factor this year. He's done.
Okay, the last 30 seconds, make your Super Bowl pick. I got San Francisco. You can change it later on. You always do anyway.
Well,
I got San Francisco versus New England. That's what I'm going with right now.
Wow.
Really rubbing the temples, as Common Man would say.
All right, San Francisco. I would concur with San Francisco. New England, no, that's going to be a tough one.
All right.
I'll tell you what. I'll steal your pick and say, I'll agree with you on that, but it'll give me more than 10 seconds to think about.
You've been doing this for how many years? This is that. I'm not asking.
It's not even week one. I don't think.
Notre Dame math. I mean, come on, man.
I don't.
Thanks, Pete.
I don't bet.
I know you. I'm not asking you to bet.
I mean, I'm not looking at the odds.
Okay. Thank you for coming in. We'll see you next Sunday.
How about Vikings Chiefs? How about that one? Huh?
1970.
Huh? You like that?
Still to come on Rosen Sports Sunday. We'll stop by summer school where Pete Bursic needs to go on the ice at the West Walls Minnesota Wild Hockey Camp, where fun is a key for all the players participating. Stay with us. And welcome back to Sports Sunday. Over 100 girls and boys had their hockey game assisted by a former NHL player and assistant coach, Wes Walls, at the Minnesota Wild's hockey school. And we went there to check things out.
The drill we just worked on, those escape drills, the first person that's the offensive player that gets the puck. I want you to work on those escape drills.
Wes Walls definitely sounds like a coach.
That's it, bud. 1, 2, quick, tight turn. Attaboy, go.
The former NHL player and assistant coach put youngsters through the puck paces at the second annual Minnesota Wild Hockey School at the National Sports Center in Blaine.
Go around the cone on this side, okay? Go. That's it, bud.
This is the second year we've done the Minnesota Wild West Walls hockey camp, and it's last year obviously it was a huge success. The numbers this year for the camp are up.
That's it. Go. That's it. Stay with it.
It's a long week for the kids. I mean, they're on the ice for 3 hours a day.
Cut out here. Cut out here. That's it. Move your feet.
they're going to learn a lot of things over the next week, okay? So some of the drills that they're learning as far as like working on doing their edge work and working on their insides and outside edges. The one drill that you were watching earlier, we were working on escape drills where you're trying to get away from defenders.
Next person, go.
It's pretty cool because he's a really good hockey player. He knows what he's doing. It's fun to be at his camp. It's gotten me better by so much over the summer.
Stay with it. I'll be like the defenseman. Shoot it. Good job.
It's really awesome to have somebody that's experienced in the NHL.
We know these age groups, it's very difficult to keep them focused for more than 7-8 minutes. So we make sure when they build in their drills and they do what they want, that the kids are always moving and they're doing different drills every 8 to 12 minutes.
Stay with it. Stay with it. Good job.
You have to focus on like just knee bending around the tires and just focusing once you get out there. You have to do quick feet and then get to the puck as quick as you can.
When we turn back away from the player that's defending us and I get separation, we got to try to skate the puck out. You don't have to turn back into him, okay?
The young players definitely plan on putting their newfound puck knowledge to use when they leave camp.
Move your feet. That's it. Good job.
You just have to practice at home. And because you're not going to learn it all on the ice, you have to do it in like your garage or basement with a tennis ball or a sliding puck. It's pretty fun. I do that at home with my friends and all that.
The aim of the camp is for the kids to not only leave with better skating skills, but to make sure to enjoy their time spent on the ice.
It's just fun to come and be able to see my friends and play hockey.
We try to make sure these kids, when they leave Friday, they have a blast. They have a great time. That's our main goal.
2, quick, tight turn. Attaboy, go. Hey, Bryce, attaboy, attaboy.
We want these kids, when they come here, to make sure that they have a good time and have fun.
Yeah, that's it, bud.
I think that's mission accomplished, Wes. Unfortunately, Wild fans may have to wait quite a while for the NHL season to start. Head coach Mike Yeo did sound real optimistic on our chat at the State Fair on Thursday. He's caught in the middle of the players and owners and their stalemate, but indications are we won't see Zach Parise, Ryan Suter, and their new Wild teammates until perhaps December, the way it looks right now. We can only hope there's some positive dialogue, with the lockout is looming just a couple of weeks away. Stay with us. Gopher football fans pulled a late-nighter to watch U's season opener in Las Vegas on Thursday. I'll weigh in on their first W coming up next. As they say, I had to see how the movie ended. It was one of those rare, really, really late nights in sports. A lot of folks stayed up to watch until the bitter end. In this case, a huge sigh of relief for the Gopher football team as they defeated UNLV 30-27 in triple overtime in a game which ended about 1:45 in the morning after kicking off at 10 p.m. on Thursday night. Senior quarterback Marquise Gray had accuracy problems most of the night. He said he was too geeked up and overthrew some wide open receivers, but he did find the mark in overtime twice, which really helped matters. This pinpoint pass helped them win in overtime as well. It was a crazy night. I like the athleticism of their wide receivers, but their defense actually played very well. I know against an inferior opponent, but Minnesota hasn't done well in situations like this with a lot of underclassmen. 3 interceptions in one game, 2 by sophomore safety Derek Wells helped seal the deal with that game-winning field goal. The Gophers escape with a big win. Anyone's a big win right now. They open their home season next Saturday at 11 a.m. against New Hampshire. That, of course, at TCF Stadium. Head coach Jerry Kill won't have to worry about any more of those West Coast trips to start the season after opening at USC last year, UNLV this season. Their next 4 seasons are scheduled to open at the Bank Stadium. And we'll be right back. Stay with us. Interesting to see how many times this happens, but the Vikings are actually 4-point favorites next Sunday against Jacksonville. How many times the Vikings actually will be favored this year. Just a reminder that we've got the Viking season opener against the Jaguars covered right here on CCO, beginning next Sunday with a pregame show at 10:30, live from the Metrodome with myself and Mike Max, and the NFL Today on CBS, followed by, of course, the game at noon, and then a complete wrap-up of the game here on Sports Sunday with the one and only Pete Burstich, who's now picking the Jets against the Giants. He said too many mini donuts. Until then, we'll see you next week. Good night, everyone. The Jets and the Giants.